Awesome. So welcome. I wanted this, I didn't do a full PowerPoint because I was hoping this would be a little more interactive. The last time that we met in September, I told you guys that I would give more information on building a team if you're interested in real estate investing. I'd go over some of the investment products that are out there, a few lenders, and then we can go over renovation cost and like numbers on deals that I've looked at. I've pulled up one that I received in my inbox today. And then I will also just share how you can start finding off-market deals outside of our access to the MLS. So I've taken lots of trainings. One of them was by Jessie Lang. She used to be an agent with Red One, and going over just these are just general questions she's recommended asking. General questions to people like how long they've been in the business, if they have references, their pricing structure, how they take payments. You definitely want to have an inspector on your team. Now, you don't have to do like a traditional home inspection. There are some inspectors that work with investors and they do a more high level inspection, like tell you the age of your mechanicals, and they'll look at if the grading is going towards the house, if there are potentially roof issues. Some of them get up to the roof, some of them have drones, some of them just look from the ground and will tell you how old they think the roof is. They'll offer suggestions on if you need to replace or the lifespan of something, if it's near the end of life, if it's past the end of life and you should replace them, like windows, doors, trim, siding, your kitchen, your plumbing. And then always good to have a handy person unless you're handy yourself and you want to do all of the miscellaneous changes to the house that are needed. If you want to do rentals and your tenants have last minute emergencies or requests and you don't want to do that yourself, it's definitely good to have a handy person on staff or around that knows you and knows your properties. General contractors are good to help you estimate. Sometimes people estimate and do walkthroughs with you. Sometimes they're just the people that help you with the flip or the general renovation for a rental, and they would do the work. They would manage subcontractors. They'd help with pulling permits and getting approvals from the various cities. They'll also be able to provide you like an estimate of how much the property repairs and renovations will cost. They should also be able to give you a timeline, and as the project is going, they should be able to tell you if they find something unexpected that wasn't planned. Sometimes when you take down drywall and you do demolition, you find other problems that you couldn't see visually from initially walking the property. Recommended to have a real estate attorney. Now, this isn't for all situations, but let's say you have rentals, it's definitely good to have someone to help you with the eviction process. And if you ever have to go to court or evict someone, there's situations where, let's say, people want to break their lease for whatever reason. It's always good just to have someone that you can turn to, get advice from, or that can step in and help you do it effectively. Insurance, so whether you are doing a fix and flip or a rental, during the renovation process, most lenders require you to have insurance. If you're able to pay in cash, still good to have insurance on the property in case something happens, act of God or vandalism. Your insurance person would be able to help you. Not all, like, we have a person for our homeowners insurance and our car insurance, but they don't handle like construction insurance. So there are people that specialize in the renovation insurance for you. Cleaners, so even at the end of a renovation, we typically will bring in a cleaner to clean up all the debris and wipe all the window seals, mop the floor, and just make it look presentable for pictures when we're flipping. In rental properties, when you have a change out of new tenants, you typically will have someone come in and do the cleans. If you are interested in investing for Airbnbs, this is someone that would obviously come every time there's a change in guests. That would do like the laundry, the typical cleaning, maybe do some restocking for you. We are all real estate agents, so we don't need one of those, but there are times maybe you're not familiar with investing, and there are a lot of investor agents or agents that work with investors that would definitely also be able to help you. Boots on the ground. So these are people that can, maybe you don't want to send your contractor out every time, but you would like to know what the inside of a property looks like outside of just the pictures. Maybe you can't walk the property because it's too far from where you are, or you're unavailable at the date and time. We'll say off-market properties are available for a walkthrough. Typically on off-market properties, they tell you 1, maybe 2 days in advance of the date and time. And that is usually the only time that you could walk the property. Sometimes it's because the owner lives there, sometimes tenants live there. So you really only have that little slot of time to be able to go walk the potential investment property. If you don't trust yourself to do it or you don't like doing it, bookkeepers are great in helping you manage your expenses for projects, and they will be able to give you financial statements on a monthly or quarterly basis, whatever you guys decide. There's also software systems like QuickBooks that you could also do yourself and connect it to your bank account, your business checking account to allocate and categorize all of the expenses that come along with the project. Highly recommend finding a CPA or a tax specialist that is familiar with real estate and real estate investments and the laws, and so that they can help you take the best deductions for the year and help you depreciate your rental properties, depreciate expenses that you have, and do CapEx, and which are capital expenditures. And everyone charges something different. So I would recommend interviewing a few of each of these people just so that you're able to see who best fits your needs. Virtual assistants, I mean, if you're doing a ton of properties, and that's something that you could definitely look into, they're usually maybe $10 an hour to help you, whether they're updating your property management system. If you, for instance, are doing more than 1 or 5 rentals, they could do data entry, record services, speak to all of these other people on your behalf. So your boots on the ground, if you said, hey, I want to go see this property, I can't make it, can you contact Aaron, your boots on the ground person, and have him go walk the property for me? Any questions on building a team? All right. The next thing is lenders. So there's tons of lenders out there. Kiavi is pretty well known, and they are in most of the states. They do fix and flip loans, new construction loans, which are typically reserved for a more experienced investor. If you want to do a rental property, or if you have multiple rental properties and you want to consolidate them into one loan, I'll click on each of these. So they typically take 14 days. Once you get used to them and you've worked with them a lot, then they can close in as quick as 7 business days. They help you to, depending on the property, they will do up to 90%, 95% LTC and 80% of ARV. ARV is the after repair value, so what the house would appraise for once all of the renovations are done. Typically, the rates are anywhere between 10 to 13%. Seems high, but 10 to 13% if you were to keep the loan for the whole year. You break it down, it would be either a little less than 1% or a little bit more than 1% per month, which is pretty reasonable. Typically, you're holding a loan for roughly 6 months, maybe 3 to 4 months of construction, 30 days on the market, 30 days to be in contract with the potential buyer. And I've not seen any rates this low. I would say you'd have to be using them pretty frequently to get an 8.25%. And each lender is different. Some lenders do, it has to be a minimum of 100,000. And there are some that do, like if you have the cash to buy the property, but you need financing for the renovation, there are other lenders such as Wildcat that will do the rehab loan standalone for you. And depending on how big the project is, 12, 18, and 24 months, I typically will select 12 months, and you don't have any like prepayment penalties for your interest. They'll typically cover up to 95% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab. So just depending on how your numbers mix, if it's up to 80% of the total appraised value at the end, just know that your rehab costs will be 100%, and then the difference would be in the purchase price. So you may not get up to 95%. Maybe they will only finance 60% of your purchase price. And then as far as rentals are, if you think of this is like a home loan, debt service coverage ratio loans, very similar to a home loan. Ideally, whatever your payment plus interest plus taxes would be, that the rent that the tenants are paying would cover that and leave you with more money on the side. Cover up to 80% of loan to value. And then this is the particular financing that they offer. There are some that do loans for 30 years, fixed rate, sometimes 5/1 or 7/1, adjustable rate mortgages, and interest only options, which you would not be paying down the mortgage. The principal of the loan while you're doing that. Any questions about financing, or these are considered hard money lenders? All right, I will continue. Outside of hard money lenders, there are private money lenders, and those lenders are friends, family, people that you meet on social media. Like I've made a post in the past about raising private money, and I had a few people comment, and then you're able to work out your own rates with that person. I'd say anywhere between 10 to 15% is fair. Whatever cash they give you, that you give them that cash back when you sell the property or refinance the property if you're doing a rental, plus their return of 10 to 15%. This is great if you just don't want to go through a hard money lender. There are tons of groups on Facebook. It'll slowly pull up and refresh. So Cream, Columbus Real Estate and Money. There are always deals, contractors, questions, requests, and referrals here. So if you're looking for a general contractor, you can search general contractor in the search bar, and then they'll give you a bunch of the posts that are related. Trying to find, okay, so here's one that someone posted about an hour ago. So 2 bedrooms, and then they are recommending that you turn this area, the attic, into either a loft, or sometimes people turn it into a 3rd bedroom. Here it tells you that the purchase price is 128,000. Your earnest money deposit once you go into contract would be 2,500, and then they pulled comps. I never trust these comps simply because they typically pull like the highest comps in the area. And this comp could be a 3-bedroom, or it could be a 2-bedroom with a 2-car garage. And maybe this one doesn't have a garage. So using your marketer of real estate skills, make sure that you go pull your own comps just so that you can have the best after repair value possible. And here they say cosmetic special. So in their opinion, redoing things like ceilings, painting, a new kitchen. This looks like an older hot water tank, a newer furnace. So you'd want to replace this. This would assume that there are no structural issues in the basement, but I see some lines here that don't quite look as smooth as the other ones. So there could be foundation issues. And if you guys have sold a house and had from either the buyer or seller side, and you've gotten remedy requests because of a home inspection, just think about that when you're walking properties and looking at properties, that you want to make sure you're preventing any potential issues an inspector will find later. And this one, now that I'm looking at it, doesn't even look like it's hooked up to anything. It's just actually sitting there. Garage, still very cosmetic, but there's tons of trash. So expect to clean up trash, do landscaping, potentially replacing this garage door. Doesn't look like there's a keypad on there. So essentially installing a garage door opener, replacing some of the siding here. And this looks like the upstairs. So if there's no closet, you'd have to think about installing a closet, unless these little doors here are some type of closet space. But I would personally wouldn't want a closet that size. I'd want a full-size closet. So maybe on the back side of this picture, there's room where there's steps to put a closet next to the stairs. Power washing, a little bit of landscaping in the front as well. Typically in cosmetic flips, you are also replacing the flooring, painting. That appliance looks new. Sometimes people leave the appliances, sometimes they don't. Sometimes people leave all of their belongings in the house as well, and then you have to account for those. See what else. So they're not also, this is the most information that they can give, is like the street, the city, state, and zip code. They're not allowed to advertise, even if they have a contract with the owner, the actual address of the home. So most often you'd have to comment down here with your email address, or ask them to DM you the address. And on ones like this, they will usually have a Google Drive or a Dropbox with all the photos for the property. And in this one, they give you a little bit of information, give you the price. They didn't provide any comps. The person whose company this is also the owner of the page, and they always file their affidavits with the county. Not everyone does this. There are times I have gotten emails from 2 different people on 2 different Facebook pages with the same deal. And what I found out later, just through messaging with them, is that one person had a signed contract with the seller, and the other person was working on getting a signed contract with the seller. So that's something you also need to be careful with, because you're going to send your earnest money deposit to title. And then if they didn't have a valid contract with the seller and someone else came in and then actually did and found a buyer, you've now given the title your money, and you'd have to work really hard to get it back. Any questions? There's a lot of Columbus real estate groups. I recommend just requesting to join the group. And sometimes, like this house, recent media, we saw it on the Crean page. It is also posted here. A lot of things are cross-posted. Sometimes they just give the zip code, and then I comment a lot throughout the day just to try to find good deals. They didn't really give much information. So no purchase price, no size of the home, no beds, no baths, no photo. So Sam would then just email you and tell you what he has on special. Here's another one, very little information. And once you give some of these people your email, they will just like add you to the list, and then you'll be able to get emails from them without knowing all the way, which is also a lot of fun. I will show you guys a property that I am looking to purchase. It's in Bellefontaine, Ohio. It would be for a rental property. So I walked this property on Friday. So these are pictures that I took myself. I like to make sure I take pictures of all the sides, so when I go back to estimate the renovation cost, I have the window count and can make good estimates. This one is in the middle of renovation, and the current owner just couldn't afford to continue with the project. I like to take pictures of meters, take pictures of serial numbers. I can always zoom in on my phone or on the computer, just so I have the age of the air conditioner, the hot water tank, the furnace. I take pictures of issues, so this should not be bent this way, like you can see through to the first floor from the basement. This is a newer furnace. I think it's only 4 years old. Hot water tank is pretty old, so I estimated replacing that. All new windows in the basement and upstairs. They started redoing plumbing. These are the doors from upstairs. Took pictures of these because these are concerning, and I think that they will come up in an inspection later. Stairway to the basement. This is the kitchen and a little space that, not sure why they framed it in this way or why they drywalled it this way, but it will stay. This is the other side of the kitchen. This is a bedroom near the front door. They're considering this bedroom 1. The person is leaving all the material here except for the shiplap, which I was pretty sad about, but all the cabinets are staying. This is the front door and entryway. This is bedroom number 3, which is not true. They were considering moving the front door, so this could be another bedroom. This is the second bedroom on the first floor. This is the bathroom that they started framing in. I take tons of photos just to make sure I can remember what it looks like and I can accurately assess the cost. This is upstairs, and this is going to be the master bedroom. They're putting a tub right here. They're going to put a shower over here. And their plan was to remove this window because who wants to take a shower with a window right there? This is the actual bedroom part and a closet back there. They still have to put in insulation and drywall on the second floor. This is the entryway. Here's that bathroom I showed you guys, and then the entryway into the bedroom. This is just going to be a nice open space that will be enclosed. And then my numbers for this project, I estimated just a flat 45,000 to finish everything, so materials and labor to get it market ready. They are asking for $130,000 for that in the current state that it's in. I ran comps, which are here, and I think the ARV will be about 230. I'm just going to open that up. So most 3 bedrooms. This house will have 2 full bathrooms. And so this one went for like 240,000. This one went a little under 230. These were very close to 230 as well. I've actually walked this East Patterson Avenue property before, and it was in much worse condition than this house. I will get a loan and they will do 80% of loan to value. Here's my renovation cost. So the maximum I would be able to offer to be at 80% of the ARV would be 139,000. So we are winning there because I'm only going to pay $130,000. This will be a rental, and so the monthly rent would be about 2,100. Probably could push it to 2,200. And then these are all of the costs. So cash to close and purchase, the interest that I will pay for the few months that I have the property, total cash needed before refinancing, which are these 2 numbers together. So all in, I would be at almost 185,000. This formula, if it is negative for your cash to close, that means that you would get money back. So when I go to refinance with a DSCR, debt service coverage ratio, loan at closing, I should get roughly $6,000 back. Once everything's done, I will have, after my all-in value, I will have about $43,000, $44,000 in appreciation or equity in the property. And based on what the taxes, the insurance, and the mortgage principal would be after rent, I should cash flow about $431 a month on this particular property. And then this is like all the details there for those numbers that I went over above. Estimate like rent increases of 3% per year, insurance cost increasing, property tax increasing, which if you guys own a home, you know, between 2023 and 2024, it definitely went up more than 5%, which is not normal, but thank you, COVID and higher property prices, right? So this just tells me that over the years, how much I would cash flow per month, assuming that I'm paying down the principal on the mortgage, and then how much equity I would have in the property, assuming 3% appreciation, which is also very conservative. I know Mark usually says like 5%, and it depends on the area. Some areas will be more, some areas will be less, but just playing it safe with the numbers, just keeping it at 3%. Any questions on my numbers? I know that I'm a numbers person, so I know I went through that kind of quick. So if you guys have questions, just.
Did you build your own calculator or actually get it from somewhere?
I got this particular calculator from somewhere else. I have built my own calculators. This one is like very in-depth, and I think it's a little difficult to learn how to use it. But there are simpler, more simplified versions of calculators out there. I wish I was this smart to put all of these formulas in here, but it's a lot of formulas.
Gotcha.
So if we were looking to get a calculator, where would you recommend us looking?
I would say Etsy, depending on if you follow other investors online, sometimes they offer those for free if you message them. I did ask Jessie about selling this. I'm waiting for her response on how much she would sell it for, like letting people individually buy them on their own, because I do think it's a really great comprehensive calculator. It just takes a lot of practice to make sure that you're doing it right.
Understood.
I'll take a note, also just, and I'll get back to you guys. One moment, I will find. I must have closed out of it. I thought I saved it, but I will find an email from today. I'm sure you guys don't. I usually have a lot of tabs open and people make fun of me, so I am stop my screen share for just a moment. So this is one that I got at 9:40 this morning. It is a flip near the driving park area. They'll typically, now this is because I'm on their daily distribution list. Give you the asking price, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. They'll give you a little bit of information about the property on why you should buy it. It's got a full basement, which is good. Full basement doesn't equate to like finished or livable space, but it's sometimes people are okay with finishing a basement to add value, maybe adding an egress window. I would definitely make sure that you are looking at your comps to see if that makes sense to spend the extra money to get the added value. All right. And so they typically will give you the address when you click on it. You can see the area. And I like to zoom out to see exactly where it's located in Columbus. So it is here. I mean, it's pretty close to Nationwide, German Village, Old Oaks, Livingston Park, Old Town East. Like this is a very popular area to invest in, along with like the Linden area, the Hilltop area. And then they always include photos. So if you were to put your email in one of those posts on social media, there are times where they will just forward you an email like that one that I showed you guys. I typically go through them one by one, but I won't make you all suffer. So I'm hoping my computer just cooperates with me and puts them in larger tiles. So here it looks like they're in the middle of construction on the property. I can see a lot of fixing up of drywall. They've started rolling up the carpet. Looks like a newer hot water tank. You can tell that there's some ductwork down there. Looks like a newer furnace. So before I usually go walk properties, I look at all of the pictures and estimate the renovation cost. Here's the old hot water tank. Just to see if, on a rough estimate, if it works numbers wise. I'd recommend updating this panel here. This is an older panel, very small, not very many spots to add new electrical there. I also look to see if there's any knob and tube up here. Most insurance companies will not insure a house if it has knob and tube. I don't know if you guys have had any buyers or sellers that have had knob and tube in their homes, but it's very old and hazardous. Look at the backyard. I try to look to see if I see any foundation issues outside. I also like to use Google Maps and see if they have updated footage or photos of the neighborhood. If they're like 2 years old, you can't use that. Too many things have happened in the last 2 years. But if they do have updated photos, I just like to look at, see if any of the houses around it are newer. Looks like a newer AC unit. There's a parking pad, which this means either you should add a garage, maybe clean this area up. Not sure how the fence functions, maybe it just slides, but this would mean if you didn't do anything back here, then this person would just have street parking. Looks like a newer, like they replaced the porch here. Also looks like a smaller house compared to the other two houses next to it. Doesn't look like a bad project. Would want to run the numbers on it. So I would typically Peter's not so happy here. Anyone have questions while we're clicking into all the things? I'm just going to take a note of the address. Sometimes they will name the file that way. For the 911. Here. I like to use this little pen here when I'm pulling up a property. And then it just pinpoints exactly where the property is. I always just let it do its 1 mile radius. And then I go back and I fix it. I want to also pull in, when it gives me 163 properties, I know we have way too many. I usually only go back 6 months. Because I want to account for renovation time and time on market, and then also account for when we're done, let's call it 6 months, that all of these properties that I pull in are going to be properties that the appraiser will also pull in. So 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a little over 1,400 square feet. So standard CMA, I don't think I'm going to add a bedroom, so I'm going to, and I don't think we would add a bathroom. And I don't feel like this is helping our number. I mean, we're down to 117, but that's still way too many. At 1,400 square feet, I would maybe go down to 1,200 and go up to 1,600. And then here, we're down to 74, which is way better than like 800, but still too many properties. So I personally I don't know, I like to pick this one. If we just kept it very small, close to the property. Trying not to cross over any major intersections. And then I usually will take away the circle to see how many I have. 14 feels like a much better number to analyze than 79. Go over to the list, and I just usually look to see if properties that need to be renovated, if they are, how much people paid for them recently. Like, is the asking price too high on this? Does it seem reasonable? 159.9 seems high, but, and it doesn't look like there are many properties that needed renovation. Like, you could click into these, but totally up to you. So I'll usually sort by price. That'll also help you figure out which ones probably were not renovated and needed work. So these ones here, I would assume were not as renovated, and they're all going for much higher than this property. So it seems like the 159.9 that they're asking for is reasonable. But then you need to analyze from like the 207 down to see, could I really get these prices for this property? The shape of the house or the style of the home is very different than these ones, so you can't just assume you're going to get $370,000 for the property once you renovate it. But these are probably the ones that most people would use in their ARV if they're wholesalers, because they're not licensed realtors, and they want someone to buy it assuming that they're going to get these very high prices. I also look to see how much homes go for on the same street to see and from my opinion, what an appraiser would not do is take these two houses and just like throw them out and ignore them. They'll go, okay, well, a house on the same street as the property in question. So I would say that it's safe to assume that somewhere in this 280 to 242 would be a safe place to assume that you are going to get it appraised for. All right. Any additional questions or anything that you guys want to know that I didn't go over?
Yeah, I had a question.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to know if you can walk me through just because I don't know your story, like how you got started in real estate and then how you got on a wholesale side. Like, because I've seen like a lot of YouTubers and stuff, and I know that that's different from having your license and the different responsibilities and things like that. So if you could just tell me like a little intro, how you got started and kind of like how it works, because it is a little confusing because I actually thought it was like illegal or something. So I don't know if you understand my question or kind of know what I mean.
Yes. So I've been licensed for 2.5 years now, but my husband and I moved down here 4 years ago from Northeast Ohio. His sister and our brother-in-law, they have been flipping houses since I've known them for 15 years, but they've been doing it for over 20 years. And so we've been around flipping and investing for a very long time. Maybe 2 years ago, we became licensed general contractors. So we're licensed, bonded, and insured contractors to do renovations. And that is how we kind of got started working with investors. My husband owns his own bathroom remodeling company, and when he was going out to provide quotes to people, he was meeting a ton of investors, and that's what made me get my license. And I typically work with investors. I network a lot in the investing community. So I know a lot of the wholesalers. Wholesalers are typically not licensed. Sometimes they are. They do a lot of door knocking, a lot of marketing to find sellers that want to sell their home, similar to the one that both of the ones that I showed you. And from there, they have a contract with the seller. So very similar to how we have listing agreements or buyer agreements, they also have a seller agreement so that they have permission to market that home to other buyers. Sometimes the sellers are not as aware of what's going on, and they don't understand that this person's then going to go put it on Facebook or send it out in an email blast to try to find a buyer for the property. Wholesale agreements are usually for anywhere between 30 to 90 days. And within the 90 days, that person is hoping to find a buyer. Doesn't always work out. Sometimes it does. What happens is, let's say like that house that I just showed you, maybe the seller agreed to sell it to someone that the wholesaler brings to them for 140,000. Well, now you offered 159,900, the wholesaler would get that 19,900. They would get the difference. That's how they're paid. It's whatever the difference is between what the new buyer pays and what they promise the seller. And it's usually called an assignment fee or a wholesale fee. Did that answer your question, Angela?
Yeah, it kind of does. Because you know how the YouTubers are, like they make everything look so they actually make it look kind of easy. And I know it's a lot of things that go like in between all this. I guess my last question would be like, what made you interested in getting a real estate license? Because they're always like, you don't need your license, you can make all this money. But it does seem like they're trying to almost manipulate the sellers, because it's like, I don't know, they don't know, and they're trying to get this house for pennies on a dollar. So I was also kind of confused as far as like, because this is an agency and you're a broker, how does that like work as far as like with the commissions and stuff like that we get paid on wholesale deals?
So I am not a wholesaler. I just know wholesalers, and like I get on their lists. So how would you get paid? So I have had clients purchase a property that I brought to them from a wholesaler, and I typically will charge my investors a fee or a commission. And when they go to title, go to close, they will pay the brokerage whatever your fee was. And then if you're on rev share, we'll take the 20%. If you're on the 50-50 like low cap, they'll take 50% of whatever that is to satisfy the cap. But I mean, it would still work like a normal deal. Your buyer would still sign an agreement, or if you're investing, you would still sign an agreement with the wholesaler to purchase the property by a certain date. You would send earnest money deposit to the title company that the wholesaler is working with, and then you would go to closing. So that property that I showed, the blue one that's in Bellefontaine, that's not listed on the MLS. The owner is a licensed realtor. She posted it on Facebook, and because she doesn't need an agreement with herself. In this particular case, if she were to have listed it on the MLS, then yes, she would have needed a listing agreement with herself. So I walked the property, I signed a purchase agreement with her, and then we will close on or before November 15th. But there's no commission involved in there because there's no commission to be paid. But I have, for other people, another one, I know someone that purchased a property, she paid, we'll call it $150,000. The seller got $100,000 at closing and the wholesaler got $50,000. So they have no fiduciary responsibility to the seller. I mean, it would be good just to be honest, an honest person that, doesn't want to take advantage of people. Sometimes the properties are very distressed. Sometimes the properties have tenants in them that are either not paying or the owner just doesn't want to be a landlord anymore. So there's a lot of different scenarios. This one that I showed you guys that came in my email, they're in the middle of renovation. Who knows why they want to sell it? Maybe they don't have any more money for the renovation. It was more than they thought it would be. So it just depends on the situation. There's a lot of different reasons why people don't sell on the market with a realtor. Any other questions?
How do you normally handle commissions for anything you're doing that's on market?
On market, so like on the MLS, we typically, there are deals on the MLS. They're just harder to find and a lot more people see them. So there's a lot of negotiation. So I typically just go off market when I buy properties. But I mean, you would still write your contract the same way. You would still add your commission in there, whatever you deem fit. You would need, if you're buying it for yourself, like I have a buyer's agreement with myself and I have the minimum, I have the commission written in there so that if I were to buy a property, I typically try to do it for just the date and just the address of the property that I'm going to go see, so that I'm covered and I don't write one for 3%. And then if the deal doesn't work out with 3%, then I still owe myself 3%.
Right.
That you have to bring that to closing. So if you're trying to put less money in the deal and you want to take it out on the back end, now you have to bring an extra $3,000 to the deal.
Gotcha.
I had one last question. When you're marketing this, like I know I always see like the little signs that they put out, I buy homes for cash, or how do you kind of market these as in general?
So these are not my, the one from my email, I was just sent that from someone that I signed up with a long time ago. I don't typically market any off-market deals. But the people that do buy homes for cash, they essentially either A, have the cash to buy the property, they use a loan and their lenders quick at closing on properties. So they're able to, hard money lenders are considered cash because you're not going through like scrutiny with underwriting. They still have an underwriting department, but they can be very quick with the property in closing. I know some lenders can close in 2 days if you have worked with them a lot. So those people that, when they have sellers that call, they do have the means to purchase the properties for cash. I don't have the means to purchase the property for cash and put like hundreds of signs out and have people calling me all the time. I wouldn't do that. Any other questions? All right. In the email that I sent out with this Zoom link, it has my email address. You can always email me and it has my cell phone number. So feel free to call or text me if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for
Thank
joining.
you.
Thank you, Maleeka.
Thank you, Maleeka.
Thank you.